Today I have something special to show you from RGT, but first allow me to set the scene. This is the 2021 Bronco by Traxxas. It's the TRX4. I paid $1,400 total for this. It's a 6-channel radio system plus a winch. There's no interior, so you can see the electronics through it, although it's lovely dark tinting. And we have lockable, unlockable diffs and 2-speed. There's also the Pro Light kit added aftermarket, and that has app control, and I've showed this in the reviews where you can turn headlights on low or high. You've got indicators or hazards if you want, brake lights and reverse. So it's a lovely complete system and it's well thought out. It's a brushed crawler, weak steering servo, but that's replaceable, and of course you've got your 2-speed servo and your 2 shifting servos. Now let me show you why we're here. I'll start with the radio. This is the DumboRC EX8E. It's got RGT branding on it. 1, steering. 2, throttle. 3 and 4, 3-way switch. 5, 6, 7, 8. It'll be broadly compatible with other DumboRC receivers. Takes 4 AA's. It has a JST plug in the bottom, so you've got a bunch of options here. Doesn't have the same nice foam wheel as the TQI radio. Doesn't have cruise control, which this thing also has set up. Looks familiar, doesn't it? So this is the RGT Pro Runner. Comes with a winch. Out of the box, that was $200 I had to pay for. Comes with a full light kit. That was another $200 I had to pay for. Comes with an interior, which I haven't paid for in the Traxxas because I just didn't want to. It's got the lovely dark tinting, so I just thought, you know what, that's one expense maybe I'll skip in this case. Has the nice matte finish on top, and that feels like an exterior paint job, honestly. And then the whole thing's green. Now you can get it in a few different colors. We've got beadlock wheels. Now these are 4.3-inch wheels, and the Traxxas Canyon Trails, you may recall, are 4.65. So the tires are a little bit bigger on the Traxxas, and the Traxxas had portals. I've removed them. That was another $200 because I needed the straight-through conversion kit. So actually, my total spend is more like $1,600, really. So we've got straight axles because I wanted the more realistic thing. And look, we've got straight axles out of the box. Now that might be a pro or a con, depending how you look at it. A metal servo horn, Metal Gear waterproof 25 kilo steering servo. If this lasts more than a couple of heavy crawling sessions, it's already better than the Traxxas unit, which I'm not a fan of. Now the big difference between these two cars is that the RGT doesn't have lockers, but instead it's got a 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive gearbox. The 2-wheel drive is front though. I don't know that you'd ever really use that. But then in the same 3-way shift you also then have a dig where it will lock the rear completely, allowing the front to pull the vehicle around. Metal links, upper and lower. Metal telescoping drive shafts, which again the Traxxas doesn't have. They're plastic, although I'd argue that in this case it doesn't really matter because these ones are really strong. You'll never break them. And we've got aluminium oil-filled shocks. We also have a nice metal bash plate on the front. And look at this, clipless body removal. No body clips for this. Oh, and it also has wheel arches and a place for rock lights, incidentally. I haven't stuck them in, but it looks like they're compatible. And the front should lift off forward. Yep, that's how I design it too. Oh, I didn't know it came with a lipo. It comes with a lipo battery. My goodness. Oh, and look at this, look at this. I didn't know this. Oh, magnetic light kit. And it looks like it goes both ways, is that right? No, the magnets only allow one way for polarity. What a beautiful system. Wow. Oh, this is amazing. And all your light outputs are labeled, and they're on a single piece block. So customization of lights is probably limited, but what a sweet little system, eh? Oh, I really like this. I really like this. You've got they've got little gussets to hold the wiring, but They haven't been used out of the box. Let's get them in real quick. I really like the way the body goes on too. It's got a little O-ring there to keep it smooth when it clips in. Very attractive. The mirrors even bend, just like on the Traxxas. The wipers also move. They've got little screws under them, so they all hinge. Even the back one does. I like this car immediately. I like it. It's very welcome to have another one of these batteries. 2S 30C 6200 milliamp hour. Nothing shabby. Absolutely fine. There's a fan mount for behind the motor. You're never going to really need that, but I mean, I've got it front and rear. We've got 2 servos here, and you've got what looks to be an equivalent of the Hobbywing 1060. There's a LiPo and nickel metal hydride jumper, and then there's another jumper for forward brake reverse, forward and brake, or if you have no jumper on that second line, it's just forward and reverse, which is crawling setup, which is what you get out of the box. 35 turn 550 motor, so it's actually slower than the TRX4 motor, but that's probably for the best, honestly. And if you have the right ratios in your gearing, which knowing RGT they will, you'll have a useful range there. Now I see there's no winch mounting hole on the front, but wait, that's your winch right there. That's your winch servo. You can see the spool in there. Yeah, there it is. The spool's just in there. That's attached to this, and it's a metal cable. Wow, this is just fabulous. Fabulous. Oh, and there's the on-off switch, which is typical to many RGT vehicles. So you can have the thing plugged in, and you can just turn it on or off from underneath. I'm really digging this. Now, this is not a waterproof box, but it is likely, I can't say for sure, let's have a look at it. It's likely the receiver has had conformal coating applied, so it's probably waterproof. It's easy to find out. Well, easy for me because I know what to look for. Conformal coating is like a clear lacquer type cover that goes on PC boards and stuff. So it's the DumboRC X6DC. Takes up to 10 volt input. The lights are on their own separate connector, which goes out to the box. So this is a paired component. It looks like there's conformal coating on the board. I went to the trouble of pulling it out, examining it, and then I snapped it all back together and reassembled it, and then remembered I wasn't recording. So take my word for it, it is waterproof as far as I can tell. However, do not run in water. Don't run it on rain or snow days. Avoid exposure to moisture, water or snow. However, waterproof. Says it's waterproof. Now, speaking of, we've got the green one. It also comes in blue and red, and they even go to the trouble of giving you weight. It says the total weight is about 3 kilos. It's roughly equal left to right, but it's definitely front biased 60-40, which I think is what you want. So it's heavier in the front than in the rear, is what that's saying. This is a really helpful page. I'll bring it up to the camera. Okay, so it shows you what everything is. And one thing I love about the DumboRC radios that I wish other radios, even the good old GT5, one of my favorite radios, I wish this did this. This doesn't light up when you press it, so you don't know if it's engaged or not. This fella does. So you've got high and low there. You've got four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, and dig. Two-wheel drive in this car is not really a feature. I mean, it technically is, but it's not the same as what you'd actually like in real life. Take the BRX 1 and 2. If you put the gearing into the transfer case so that you can adjust to either have dig or have two-wheel drive and four-wheel drive, it'll freewheel the front, so you've just got rear-wheel drive, which is much more typical for your classic four-wheel drive vehicle. Anyone who's busted an axle or lost a drive shaft in the rear when they're running a trail truck, you'll know front-wheel drive isn't really useful for almost anything except for abrupt turning. The car has trouble getting forward motion. So when the shifter's moving from disengaged to dig, so there's a shifter that goes from being in that position to the rear position. There are these little locking arms on each side of the spool. When it's in the rear, it locks out the shaft, and then when it's forward, the shaft is engaged. So you either have four-wheel drive or a locked up rear wheel that can't move. That's what dig is. And having two-wheel drive, front-wheel drive is just incidental because it's physically between being engaged and being locked. So four-wheel drive, two-wheel drive, locked. Locked meaning the rear cannot turn. Dig does two things for you. We've covered this on the channel in detail before. One, when you turn and you've locked the rear, the car will just kind of pull around and you get a really short steering angle. That is useful, but the other thing that Dig does, and is arguably made for, is when you're on a challenging bit of terrain. We've got Dig engaged. We load up the front wheels, and then see the tires are loaded. Then you pop Dig out, but Dig's supposed to disengage, and I had to just reverse a little bit. It's supposed to help you position so that then when it engages, you're good. But our breakover is such that it's not going to happen. And lastly, the winch. Now this is the interesting thing. It's a standard servo, just 3 wires. But they've set it up so you've got 2 channels. You've got, winch in, winch out. So you hold it down and it runs. And then you hold it down and it runs in. Like how strong it is. Spooling out. Now spooling in. I mean, it's working. That pulls its own weight. Absolutely can't complain about that. If it's strong enough to pull the 3.5 kilo mass, very functional. Do that for too long, you'll burn the motor out, but I don't think you can complain about a straight pull deadlift. That's absolutely fine. And we've got our 2-speed, 55 approach angle, 58-degree departure angle, and length and width and all the bits and pieces it does. We've also got exploded parts diagrams. But the last thing I wanted to let you know about in the manual is optional parts, brass C-hubs, brass diff covers, and brass knuckles. You can get them for the rear, but you really wouldn't need them. You just use them in the front. Don't buy the aluminum skid plate. That'll actually get stuck on rocks. Stick with the plastic one that it comes with. And wheels if you want them. I wouldn't bother with the alu servo braces and mounts and stuff. There is a spare tire mount if you want it, and they even have a powered upgrade. We've got a 35-turn 550, they sell a 35-turn 570, and the WP 1080 if you want it. Although it's only a piece of paper, this represents a lot of knowledge. Like, it's a very completing element of this pack. So good job, RGT, good job. Which is 9. 9 again. See, it's flashing on the receiver as well. Oh, sorry, on the transmitter. Well, that's very intuitive. 10 on. We press it again. They're both going to flash probably. Then off. Here is reverse. You come off the throttle. The brake lights come on. You go forward and look. The brake lights turn off. Same with reverse. Once you start reversing, now button 9. That's your headlights. Button 10, they're flashing, they're off. Button 10, oh, the flashing's only for the front. I see a third light bulb down the bottom there, but it doesn't seem to do anything. One difference is on the Traxxas, you also get, I mean, they haven't even got lights in this side thing here, but on the Traxxas, you've got a light over here somewhere. That's okay though. Look, again, it came with the car. Interior and full control light kit. Very, very attractive. Can't complain about that, can we? Unlike the TRX4 Bronco, this thing actually has servo on axle. You see the mounts there? So the servo is attached to the axle. That actually gives you much better steering. You see how these 2 bars are basically parallel, the panhard and the drag link? They remain parallel no matter what the axle is doing. So that enables it to have 4-link suspension front and rear very appropriately. So this should be slightly more capable than the Traxxas in that regard. A couple of other things to be aware of. Steel universals for the axles, which gives us a better steering angle than the Traxxas. So I'm actually kind of excited about this. It also says the spiral cut CNC steel gears in the front and rear. It's It's a reverse transmission. So you watch, see the direction of the shafts? They're going in opposite directions. So when we're going forward, this is going that way, and the rear is going the other way. This reduces what's called torque twist. When you accelerate, if both drive shafts are spinning in the same direction, the body will actually tilt in the opposite direction. So if the shafts are both spinning counterclockwise, the body will kind of lurch clockwise as you accelerate. It's in opposition to the rotational torque. So reversing that actually gets rid of that. And that's actually quite important, because portal axles cut that down as well, but this doesn't have portal axles, so that's a necessary thing. The other thing is, I noticed that the wheels line up nicely inside the arches, right? But they've got fairly wide hex nuts. It looks like they're using, I'm going to take a guess at 8mm hex nuts. Now, my last thing I was wondering about was overdrive. Does it have it? Place a little tiny mark here. This is going to come off the top of the wheel. Alright, there's our mark. I can see that. You may not be able to, but I just want it to be obvious. I'm going to do a full rotation of the front, and we're going to see if the rear ends up in the same position as the front. So I bring the front wheel back up to the top, and the rear is actually behind a little. Let's do another rotation. I'm doing one rotation and bringing that little marker line back to the very top, and now the line's back even further. This means the car also has overdrive, and maybe something like 6%. I didn't actually notice anything on the box about that. I found it. There's a slab of text on the box. It's not the best graphic design, let's say, but it does say it's got 6%, so I was right, 6% overdrive on the front. And it also told me the angle. It said 46-degree steering with positive Ackerman. Quick little bit of learning for anyone who is wondering, why doesn't Traxxas do these steel universal axles in the front? This is possibly why. When we're at full rotation, when we're at full lock, you watch how smooth the front wheel doesn't rotate when I'm rotating smoothly. See how the wheel goes slow then fast? This is because you watch what happens on the axle here. So you watch this and the speed of the wheel as we rotate smoothly. So it's a lever system. So there's like a fast point as it catches up. CVD stands for constant velocity drive. So that doesn't have that problem, but CVDs don't give you that same degree of turn. You probably might get something like that for a CVD, which is still fine, but unis let you go further. And indeed, some unis, I'm referring to this car a lot at the moment. This is the BRX2 from Boom Racing. These also have universal axles in the front. Look at the crazy steering angle you get out of that. That's something like 51 degrees or something ridiculous. So CVDs cannot manage that, and it still turns. So it's most impressive. All my comp rigs use unis as well, just for that excellent angle. So that tells us that while the Traxxas is a beautiful trail truck, the Pro Runner here, which is considerably lighter as well, may actually be geared more towards performance crawling. The tyres could let it down, I'm not sure. Maybe they'll complement it beautifully. Let's hit the 6 problems.
Nope.
This car has so much detail in it, I've decided I need to split the video into 2 parts. So now we know the vehicle, we know its body, we know what it's all about on the inside. How does it crawl? Stay tuned. I'm not going to make you wait the usual amount of time. We'll do the rock test next, and then we're going to see how we go. Tomorrow I'm heading down south. It's raining outside. You may be able to hear it coming through the mic here. I'm taking this car with me on a no hand of God scale drive. I'm going to use its front winch. We're going to do some recoveries with it. It's going to get muddy, and it should be a good day. So I'll make sure to include some footage of that in the next video as well. So this ends part 1 of the RGT Pro Runner review. Thanks for sticking around to the end. I'll catch you very soon for part 2. Alright, here's problem 1. First time it's been driven. I'm excited. In the meantime, check this video out. Throw me a like, and I'll see you again really soon. Thanks, guys.